My name is Mildred Johnson. I'm 62 years old this year. I never imagined I'd be raising a child at this age. But life is full of unexpected turns. It all started with a phone call from my son, James. "Mom, I have something important to tell you." James's voice was tense. I sat down on the living room sofa and took a deep breath. "What is it, Jamie?" "I've been given an incredible opportunity." "But..." He hesitated. "But..." "I'm going to be working in Tokyo for 2 years. As the leader of a new electric vehicle development project." James had been working as an engineer for a major car manufacturer for over a decade. I understood this was a huge career opportunity for him. "That's wonderful. But what about Sarah and Emily?" I couldn't help asking. "Actually, Sarah's coming too. Her company is opening an office in Tokyo. She'll be heading up the marketing department there. Sarah works for a large advertising agency. It's rare for both of them to be offered such important positions at the same time." I heard James sigh deeply on the other end of the line. "So, I have a favor to ask you, Mom. It's about Emily." At that moment, I understood. I would be taking care of 8-year-old Emily. Honestly, I was hesitant. But if there's something I can do for my family, it's my pleasure. "I'll take care of Emily," I said without hesitation. "This is a life-changing opportunity for both of you. I'm grateful you're letting me look after my granddaughter." James sounded relieved. "Thank you, Mom. We thought long and hard about this. But we concluded it would be difficult to take Emily with us. There's the language issue, and private international schools are just too expensive." "I understand," I said. "It's probably better for Emily to stay in a familiar environment." The following Sunday, we gathered at the airport. The terminal was bustling with families and friends saying goodbye. Emily was clinging to her parents. "Emily, you'll have fun staying with Grandma," Sarah gently said. "We'll video chat every day. And we'll definitely come back for holidays." James knelt down to Emily's eye level. "Daddy and Mommy will always be thinking of you, Emily. Be good for Grandma. This is a new adventure for our whole family." Emily nodded with a face that looked like she might cry. I felt my heart tighten. "It's time to board," the announcement echoed. After a final embrace, James and Sarah headed towards the boarding gate. Emily held my hand tightly, waving until her parents were out of sight. In the car leaving the airport, Emily silently stared out the window. I didn't know what to say to her. "Emily, when we get home, let's video call your dad and Mom. They should have arrived in Tokyo by now." She nodded, but her eyes remained fixed outside. When we got home, Emily quietly went to her room. As I watched her go, I couldn't help feeling anxious about our new life together. That night, when I peeked into Emily's room before bed, she was curled up asleep. A family photo was placed by her pillow. I gently covered her with a blanket and kissed her forehead. "It's okay, Emily. Grandma's here. We'll get through this together." The next morning, I got up early to make Emily's favorite pancakes. When I heard her footsteps coming down the stairs, I took a deep breath. "Good morning, Emily. I made pancakes." Emily said, "Thank you," in a small voice. It was a small step, but to me, it felt like a glimmer of hope. As I watched Emily take a bite of her pancake at the table, I renewed my determination. I'll do everything I can to make this child happy, even if it's an unexpected turn in my life. Our new life is beginning. There may be many difficulties ahead of us, but I believe that with family bonds, we can overcome anything. 2 months have passed since Emily started living with me. At first, there was a lot of confusion, but gradually a new daily routine has been taking shape. I wake up at 6 a.m. and start by making Emily's lunch. Her favorite PB&J sandwich, apple slices, and carrot sticks. Thinking about a menu that she'll enjoy while considering nutritional balance has become my daily routine. "Emily, it's time to wake up," I knock on her upstairs room. "Okay," a sleepy reply comes back. While having breakfast together, we confirm the day's schedule. "You have dance lessons after school today, right?" "Yes, from 4 o'clock, Emily answers with her mouth full of cereal. At 7:30, it's time for the school bus to arrive. I see her off at the front door, waving big. "Have a good day." Emily waves back slightly. I feel like she's been smiling more compared to the beginning. Back at home, it's time to prepare for my activities. 3 days a week, I volunteer at the local library. Organizing books, reading to children, it's a busy but fulfilling time. "Thank you again, Mildred," Jeanette, the librarian, calls out to me. No, I'm the one enjoying it," I reply. After finishing at the library, I head to the community center. Here, I participate in a yoga class for seniors. Moving my body seems to lighten my heart as well. "How's your granddaughter doing, Mildred?" Betty, my classmate, asks. "Thank you for asking. It seems she's getting used to things little by little." At 3:30 p.m., it's time for Emily to get out of school. I drop her off at the dance studio. "Have fun. I'll pick you up at 5:30. "Okay, thanks." I wait for Emily while preparing dinner. Today's menu is her favorite macaroni and cheese. I'm home. "Welcome back, Emily. How was your lesson?" "It was fun," she shows a satisfied expression, although looking a bit tired. After dinner, it's homework time. When Emily struggles with a math problem, I help a little. "You think about it this way, see?" "Oh, I get it. Thanks, Grandma." Before bedtime, we have our usual video call with her parents. Guess what? I got 90 points on my math test today. Emily reports excitedly. Through the screen, I can see James and Sarah's proud expressions. After putting Emily to bed, I feel tired but relieved. Even though there are difficult times, I've gotten used to this new life little by little. As I go to bed myself, I pray that tomorrow will start with smiles again. Just as Emily's school life was getting on track, an unexpected rift appeared in our relationship. It happened on the day we started preparing for Emily's birthday party. "Emily, what kind of cake would you like for your birthday?" I asked at breakfast, and her eyes lit up. "Chocolate cake." "All right. Let's invite your friends and have a party." That afternoon, Emily's best friend Jessica came over to play. The two were chatting happily in the living room. As I prepared snacks in the kitchen, I overheard their conversation. "Hey, Emily. Is that old lady really your grandma?" Jessica's voice. "Huh?" Emily responded, sounding confused. "She looks super old. Way older than my grandma." I froze. True, at 62, I might be older compared to the grandparents of Emily's friends. But being called an old lady stung. Yes, maybe." Emily's voice grew small. "Wow, Emily's grandma is like a super grandma," Jessica laughed. At that moment, unexpected words flew out of Emily's mouth. "No. She's the housekeeper." I couldn't believe my ears. "Housekeeper? Why such a lie?" "Really? She's a housekeeper? That's so cool. I wish we had one," Jessica said enviously. From that day on, Emily's attitude towards me suddenly turned cold. The warm "good morning" and "I'm home" from before were gone. "Emily, is something bothering you?" I'd ask, only to receive a curt "nothing" in response. I struggled. I tried to understand Emily's feelings, but the door to her heart was tightly shut. And then, the worst happened. On the day of Emily's birthday party, friends and neighbors had gathered, creating a lively atmosphere. Just as we finished cutting the cake and singing "Happy Birthday," Emily's teacher, Ms. Brown, approached me. "Mrs. Johnson, thank you so much for taking care of Emily." At those words, I saw Emily's expression stiffen. The eyes of the children around us focused on Emily and me. Ms. Brown," Emily said in a small voice. "This person is..." I held my breath. "Emily, please. This person is the housekeeper." The room fell silent. I felt the blood drain from my face. "Emily?" Ms. Brown asked, looking confused. "But I thought she was your grandmother." "She's not," Emily almost shouted. "She's just the housekeeper." I was at a loss for words. I couldn't believe what was happening in front of me. In my heart, I wanted to cry out, "That's not true. I'm your grandmother." But the words caught in my throat. The party continued in an awkward atmosphere. The children ate cake and played games, albeit hesitantly. But my heart was shattered. That night, after Emily had shut herself in her room, I sat alone in the living room and cried. Why had it come to this? How could I get Emily to open her heart? As the night deepened, I couldn't find answers. How should I interact with Emily from tomorrow? Can I repair our relationship? Amidst the anxiety and sadness enveloping me, a new determination sprouted. No matter what, I am Emily's grandmother. It's my role to protect and love this child. That's my duty. A few days had passed since Emily's birthday party. The house felt as cold and quiet as a frozen lake. Breakfast time. An invisible wall seemed to stand between Emily and me at the table. "Emily, what are your plans after school today?" I asked in a gentle voice. "Nothing special," came the curt reply. Breakfast time, which used to be lively with talk about school events and friends, was now filled only with the sound of utensils on plates. After Emily left for school, I sighed deeply in the empty house. Even the flowers in the garden visible from the window looked somehow lonely today. How did it come to this? I murmured, sinking into the sofa. In my mind, the events of that day kept replaying. The moment Emily called me a housekeeper. The surprised looks around us. And Emily's cold eyes. I desperately searched for a reason. There had to be a cause for Emily's sudden change in attitude. Pressure from friends. Bullying at school. Or was the separation from her parents still a wound in her heart? The more I thought about it, the more elusive the answer became. A sense of loneliness enveloped me. That evening, it was time for our usual video call with James and Sarah. "Hello, Mom," James's voice came through the screen. "Oh, you look well," I smiled. Then, Emily's figure appeared on the screen. "Dad." "Mom." To my surprise, Emily's expression completely changed. She had been expressionless since coming home from school, but the moment she saw her parents' faces, she broke into a full smile. "Emily, are you doing well? Is school fun?" Sarah gently asked. "Yes. It's really fun." Emily began enthusiastically talking about events at school. I watched from a little distance. Emily's cheerful voice, her lively expression. It was as if she was a different person from the time she spent with me. "Are you getting along well with Grandma?" At James's question, I listened intently. Yes." Emily's voice clouded a bit. "I'm fine." After the video call ended, Emily quietly returned to her room. Silence once again fell over the house. Standing in the kitchen, starting dinner preparations, I pondered. What was happening inside Emily? Why could she act brightly during calls with her parents, but close her heart during time with me? Days passed without finding an answer. But I knew. It was my role to bridge this gap. I won't give up until I find the key to open Emily's heart. That's the only way to protect our family bond. As the rift with Emily deepened, an incident occurred that would reveal the whole truth. It was on a Tuesday evening when I went to pick up Emily from her dance class as usual. "Emily, I'm here to pick you up," I called at the entrance of the classroom. She came out later than usual, and something seemed off about her. "What's wrong?" I asked as I approached, but Emily turned her face away. "Nothing." Even after getting in the car, Emily just silently stared out the window. When we got home, she quickly got out and headed to her room. That night, while Emily was in the bath, I went into her room to collect the laundry. That's when I noticed a large stain on her dance leotard that had fallen to the floor. Oh my, it's so dirty. When I picked it up, I realized it wasn't just a normal stain. A light reddish-brown stain. It was a blood stain. Emily. I knocked on the bathroom door, and a small voice responded from inside. What? I need to talk to you about something. Can you come to the living room when you're done? A little while later, Emily came to the living room in her bathrobe. Water was dripping from her hair, and she wouldn't raise her face. Emily, there was blood on your leotard. What happened? She remained silent. Are you hurt? Did someone do something to you? At that moment, Emily's shoulders began to tremble slightly. Emily. As I tried to approach her, she suddenly raised her face. Tears were overflowing from her eyes. Grandma, actually, I. With those words, Emily broke down crying. I didn't hesitate to embrace her. It's okay. Tell me what happened. Emily's confession was far beyond what I had imagined. She said she had been severely bullied by some girls in her dance class. It started with verbal bullying, but recently it had escalated to physical violence like pushing and pinching. Why didn't you tell me until now? Because. Emily hesitated. Those girls said, your grandma is super old. She'll probably die soon. I gasped. So I lied and said you were the housekeeper. But then everyone said, oh, you're rich, and the bullying got even worse. Emily continued, sobbing. I didn't want to worry you. Because Mom and Dad are far away, and if you collapsed, I hugged Emily tightly. To think this child had been bearing such a heavy burden on her small shoulders. I'm sorry, Emily. I'm sorry I didn't notice. No, Grandma, Emily looked up. It's my fault. I'm sorry. No one is at fault, I said gently. But from now on, let's overcome this together. That night, we talked for a long time. Emily's fears and anxieties, and my thoughts. We shared our feelings and gradually deepened our understanding of each other. The next day, we talked to the dance teacher together and told her about the bullying. We also explained the situation to the school and asked them to take measures. Thanks to Emily's brave confession, I finally felt the arrival of spring in our relationship, which had been frozen for a long time. The road ahead won't be easy. But if we believe in and support each other, I'm sure we can overcome it. That night, as I lay in bed, I made a vow. To protect Emily and our family bond, no matter what happens. Several days had passed since Emily's confession, and we began to take action towards solving the problem. The first step was contacting the school and dance studio. First, we had a meeting with Ms. Brown, Emily's homeroom teacher. I had no idea such a situation was occurring. Ms. Brown's expression was deeply troubled. Could you please implement specific measures for Emily's sake? I earnestly appealed. Ms. Brown nodded and immediately proposed an action plan. Anti-bullying education for the entire class, mediation between Emily and the children who were bullying her, and regular observation and reporting. Next, we also talked with Ms. Martinez, the dance instructor. Emily is a talented child. I don't want her to give up because of this bullying. Ms. Martinez seemed pained. I'll increase supervision during lessons and intervene immediately if I see any problematic behavior. Getting cooperation from both teachers gave me a sense of relief. That night, we video called James and Sarah. When we explained the situation, they couldn't hide their surprise and concern. "Mom, thank you so much." "Thank you for noticing." James's voice was filled with gratitude. "Emily, I'm sorry. I'm sorry we didn't notice sooner." Sarah was on the verge of tears. "No, let's all work through this together," I said firmly. With her parents' support, Emily's expression seemed to brighten a little. The next day, I called the local counseling center. "Hello, Peachtree Counseling Center. Hello. I'd like to make an appointment for counseling for my granddaughter." The kind receptionist introduced me to Dr. Jones, a specialist in child counseling. We also set a date for the first session. "Emily, how about trying counseling?" I gently asked during dinner. "Okay," she nodded, albeit with some hesitation. On the day of the first session, Emily entered the consultation room looking nervous. An hour later, the door opened, and she came out with a slightly brighter expression. "How was it?" I asked in the car. "It wasn't bad," she answered in a small voice. From that day on, Emily started going to counseling once a week. Gradually, changes began to appear in her. She started speaking with more confidence, and her smiles increased. At school, thanks to Ms. Brown's efforts, the class atmosphere began to change little by little. At the dance studio, under Ms. Martinez's strict guidance, signs of bullying decreased. The journey was long, and there were times when we almost gave up. But Emily's courage, the support of the adults around her, and above all, our family bond, kept us moving forward. 3 months had passed since Emily started regularly attending counseling. Although it was gradual, definite changes were becoming noticeable. One day, Emily came home from school unusually excited and started talking. "Grandma, something amazing happened today." "What happened?" I couldn't contain my curiosity. Emily took a deep breath and slowly began to speak. "Lisa and Kate apologized to me." Lisa and Kate were the main instigators of Emily's bullying. I couldn't hide my surprise. "Why?" Ms. Brown made time for everyone to talk about bullying. I told them how painful it had been for me. Tears glistened in Emily's eyes. However, they weren't tears of sadness, but tears of joy for having had the courage to express her feelings. Lisa and Kate said they had been going through some things at home and wanted to lash out at someone. But they realized that was wrong. I nodded quietly, listening to Emily's story. So, after school, the 3 of us went for ice cream. "I think I'm okay now." A radiant smile appeared on Emily's face, one I hadn't seen in a long time. I couldn't help but hug her. "Emily, you've done so well." From that day on, Emily's school life changed dramatically. I started to see her enjoying time with her friends again, and she showed brighter expressions at home too. At the dance studio, thanks to Ms. Martinez's efforts, the bullying issue was resolved. Emily began to truly enjoy dancing again. And the relationship between Emily and me was gradually repaired. One night, after our bedtime routine, Emily knocked on my door. "Grandma, can I come in for a minute?" "Of course, what is it?" Emily sat on the edge of the bed and hesitantly began to speak. "Grandma, I'm sorry for saying those terrible things." I gently took her hand. "Emily, you don't need to apologize anymore. I'm sorry too, for not realizing how you were feeling. But I really love you, Grandma. I'm sorry for saying you were a housekeeper." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. I couldn't hold back my own tears and hugged her tightly. "Emily, you're my precious granddaughter. Let's keep working hard together, okay?" That night, we felt the warm arrival of spring in our hearts, which had been frozen for so long. And then, a week later, unexpected news arrived. "Mom, we're coming back for a short visit next Saturday," Sarah announced excitedly during our video call. "Really?" My voice cracked with surprise. Emily jumped up with joy. "Dad and Mom are coming home. Yay!" From that day on, the whole house was filled with expectation and joy. Every day, Emily marked the calendar, eagerly awaiting her parents' return. And then, the long-awaited Saturday arrived. When we got to the airport, the arrival lobby was already crowded with people. Emily was on her tiptoes, desperately searching for her parents. "Ah, it's Dad and Mom." The moment Emily shouted, we saw James and Sarah. Emily ran towards her parents, and the three of them embraced tightly. I slowly approached, and we all hugged as a family. It felt like all the hardships and pain of the past months were melting away in this warm embrace. That night, the four of us gathered around the dinner table. It was a happy time filled with laughter. I deeply felt that this was what we had been longing for. The problems aren't completely solved yet. But with this bond, I'm confident we can overcome any difficulty. It was a precious moment that assured me of that. 6 months had passed since James and Sarah's short visit, and we were now facing Emily's elementary school graduation day. From early morning, the whole house was wrapped in a celebratory mood. "Emily, are you ready?" I called up to the second floor. "Just a little more," came the reply. In the living room, James and Sarah, who had arrived late last night, were helping with preparations, showing no signs of travel fatigue. "Mom, thank you so much for doing so much for Emily," James expressed his gratitude. "Of course. We're family," I smiled. Just then, I caught sight of Emily coming down the stairs. She was dressed in her brand new uniform, her hair neatly styled. "Wow, Emily! You look beautiful," Sarah rushed over. "You've really grown up," James said, his eyes crinkling with a smile. Emily smiled, looking a little embarrassed. There was no trace of the dark shadow that used to cloud her expression. On the way to school in the car, Emily seemed a bit nervous. "It's okay, Emily. "We're all here for you," I called from the back seat. "Thanks, Grandma," she nodded, looking reassured. When we arrived at the school, it was already bustling with many families. Emily happily ran off when she spotted her friends. "Oh, Mrs. Johnson," Miss Brown's voice came from beside me. "I'm truly moved by Emily's growth." "It's all thanks to you, teacher," I replied with heartfelt gratitude. The ceremony began, and the students were called one by one. Emily Johnson. Our family gave a big round of applause. On the stage, Emily proudly received her graduation certificate. After the ceremony, Emily was taking photos with her friends and greeting her teachers. As I watched her, the events of the past year flashed through my mind like a slideshow. "Grandma," Emily came running over. "Thank you. I made it this far because you were here for me." I felt tears welling up. "Emily, thank you too. You're such a strong girl." The four of us embraced. At that moment, I felt our bond grow even stronger. That night, we had a small barbecue party in the garden. Under the starry sky, family conversation flowed freely. "What should we do now?" James asked. "Our overseas assignment ends in 6 months. "Yes." Sarah pondered. "I want to stay with Grandma like this," Emily suddenly said. We all looked at her in surprise. "But I want to be with Dad and Mom too. Can't we all live together?" We looked at each other and then smiled. "You know, that might be a good idea," I said. That night, as we gazed up at the starry sky, we dreamed of a new family arrangement. Whatever difficulties may lie ahead, with this bond, we can overcome them. It was a night when I felt certain of that.